Hello world, I'm Max. In this video, I'm walking through my audio implementation for the Stocklebot project using Wwise and Unreal Engine 5. Everything is hooked up with Blueprint, RTPC, some switches, notifiers, some functions. No unnecessary complexity, just setup that works in real time for this game. So, the first thing I tackled was dynamic footstep. I grouped footstep, jump, land, and jetpack together because they are all triggered using animation notifiers. For footstep, jump, and land, each anim notify calls a blueprint function that performs a line trace directly downwards to detect the physical material beneath the character. Based on the physical material it hits, I set a corresponding Y switch. This switch determines which footstep sound to play, to be either concrete, gravel, the physical materials that are set up in Unreal Engine 5. And also, the footstep sound are organized within a Y switch container, with each switch corresponding to a different surface type. For the jetpack sound, I set up 4 anim notifiers: start, mid-air, stop, and end. Each notifies triggers its own Wwise event, and to ensure that the mid-air loop stops when the player stops the jetpack mid-air, I used stop actor node. So for the pushable box, I want the sound to feel more realistic. So the faster the box moves, the louder it gets. So I used get physics linear velocity on tick, ran that through vector length, clamped the value, and sent it to a Wwise RTPC called box speed. So the RTPC controls the value of that random container in Wwise, and this way the sound matches how hard the box is being pushed, so it fits the visual better. And I also add one-shot collision sound that triggers on impact with short cooldown to avoid spamming. And for the Orb Pickup Sound, I just replaced the old meta sound with a single Wwise event using post-event allocation. So it plays when orb is collected, use the actor location for spatialization. So for the buttons, doors, and pressure plates, I just added a Wwise event to an existing blueprint. So for the elevator, there are a few ways to handle the sound. The more complex approach would be to split it into 3 parts: start sound, looping, elevator movement sound, and an ending sound. But in this case, the elevator in this game's behavior is pretty simple. It can't change direction midway, so once the player steps on it, it completes its move before anything else can trigger it again. So instead of breaking it into a multiple segment, I use a single sound that matches the elevator's full movement time. I added few variation to keep it from sounding repetitive. So for the bushes, I want a simple sound when the player runs through it. So I use the collision trigger. So when the character hits the bush, play a one-shot sound. And also to stop it from firing too often, like if the player is keep brushing against it, I added short cooldown variables and cooldown time variables with the function of resetting the cooldown. So in this way, the bushes won't be firing too often if the player is either stay in the bush or keep brushing it. And now let's move on to the fan system. So the fan has 3 sound, a short startup burst, and a looping motor hum sound while it's on, and a separate blowing wind layer that plays when the player is directly above the fan. So for the startup and the loop, They are tied to the fan power state. They are pretty straightforward. The blowing part needed a feel more directional, like the wind is actually pushing upward. In Wwise, I use cone attenuation setup. The idea is to make the wind only audible when the player is standing within the path of the airflow. I set the inner angle to 75 degree and the outer to 100 degree, so the blowing sound fades in naturally as you enter the zone. And this avoids the wind sounds being audible from the side or behind the fan. It only hits where the air would realistically go, and this will add that extra bit of believability without needing extra logic. So from the mountain area, I placed several ambient wind emitters along the climbing path. Each one has a large attenuation radius. As a player climb higher, that the wind is picking up with altitude.